Today we have a really crazy story about a shameless guy who not only leeches off his hardworking girlfriend, but, of course, also betrays her. And even after that, he dares to go even lower. I don't want to spoil the details, but her revenge is cold and satisfying as she uses everything she knows about him to literally make him pay. So, here's the story. I'm from the UK, and when I was 22 and at university, I started dating a guy. Let's call him Kyle. At first, he was wonderful, dedicated to his studies, fun to be around, attentive, and always surprising me with things, working hard at his job, etc. Then, bit by bit, things started getting awful. He started skipping classes. Then, he barely bothered to go at all. Worse still, he never helped around the house, never washed up, cleaned up, or even did his own laundry. Nothing. He was even fired from his job for too many no-shows. All he wanted to do was sit at home and play Xbox or browse the message boards and forums. This was in the days before social media, when dinosaurs roamed the earth. This left me having to pick up extra shifts, sometimes even triple shifts, all while going to class and studying. I later learned that this was a pattern for Kyle. He would be really dedicated to whatever he set his heart on, but then got bored and fell back into old bad habits. Then he'd find a new passion, rinse and repeat. I knew I should have ended the relationship much sooner, but I held hope that he would snap out of it, that maybe it was just exam stress getting to him. I desperately wanted things to go back to how they were, but it was not meant to be. One night, I came home a little earlier from a triple shift because my boss knew I had a big test in the morning and let me leave 2 hours early. Little did I know I would get a great surprise. When I opened the door of my apartment, I found Kyle on the couch with another girl. I couldn't handle the situation or stand being around him anymore, so I used the cheating as an excuse to throw him out. I was so stressed with everything that it wasn't until the next day that our joint savings account crossed my mind. There was a little over £5,000 in there. Just like 200 were from Kyle. The rest was money I had saved. I immediately checked the account. Of course, it was all gone. My ex had cleaned out the account and moved into a new flat with his side chick. I called the bank. There was nothing they could do. He was authorized on the account. I contacted the police. They told me there was nothing they could do since it was a joint account, so nothing criminal had happened. They suggested taking it to civil court, but said I'd probably spend more money than I got back in legal fees, so it likely wasn't worth it. My ex had stolen 5K and there was nothing I could do about it. I felt like such an idiot. I got even angrier when I saw his posts on many forums bragging about his new TV, new game consoles, new games, and gadgets. All bought with my money. I'm not usually a vengeful person. Petty on occasion, sure, but I've never wanted to exact revenge as much as I did right then. And I knew just how to do it. While I was a student, I did temp jobs every summer to help pay for my studies. One of those jobs had been for a debt collection agency. The work was as shitty as you can imagine, but it paid really well, and it was only for a few months. My ex had been avoiding debt for many years, and he was very proud of that fact. He was also proud of the fact that his debt was close to being statute barred and he hadn't paid a penny. For those of you who don't know, in the UK, creditors have about 6 years to collect the debt, and then it becomes statute barred. That means the money is still owed, but creditors have no legal way to enforce payment. My ex was a few months away from reaching statute barred status. However, what a lot of people don't know is that making a payment on that debt resets the clock. If you pay any amount, then those 6 years start from scratch. Previously, I had used my insider knowledge to help him dodge that debt. Now, I would use it to hit him where it hurt. By the end of our relationship, I was handling everything, including his debts. I had the paperwork, so I knew who he owed and how much. He had dropped out 2 times of university and then tried to fund with credit a business that didn't take off. So I called his creditors up. I was honest and said I was a friend calling to make a payment on his behalf. I didn't pretend to be him because that would be illegal. They weren't allowed to disclose any details, but they were able to take payment. I paid the minimum I could on each debt, about £1 to each, but one had a minimum payment of £1.50. It was the best £8.50 I have ever spent. I also made sure to give them his new address and contact details, as well as his parents' address. Having worked in the business, I knew they wouldn't change the address since I wasn't the account holder, but they would note it. They had various systems where they could search for his name against that address and see if anything came up. If they got a hit, they changed the address. The trap was set. All I had to do was wait. A few months rolled by. Then it happened. His posts on the forums went from boasting about his new gaming PC to panic about a court date. He called me and begged for advice. I told him to F off. Seeing I wouldn't help, he asked for advice in the forums. One of his online friends told him not to turn up to court. That way, they wouldn't be able to prosecute without him there. It was terrible advice that was 100% untrue. In fact, not showing up is one of the worst things you can do, especially in civil court. My revenge was getting better and better. The court date came and went. My ex, naturally, didn't go. A few weeks later, my ex posted photos of his empty flat. The debt collectors had taken every last one of his shiny new toys. On top of that, he ended up with several CCJs, county court judgments. These are a big deal in the UK and can seriously damage your credit history, making it hard to get bank accounts outside of basic ones, near impossible to get credit, including getting a mortgage, and it can also make it hard to rent a place since many landlords don't like renting to people with CCJs, as they are considered high risk. He also won't be able to find jobs in the financial sector. As expected, the girl he cheated on me with couldn't handle that he was broke and left him for a new guy who could offer her pretty stuff. I didn't bother finding out what happened to Kyle after that. Whether he lived on the streets for a while, went back to his parents, or found some other way to live off of someone else, I have no clue. He was out of my life, and I have kept it that way ever since. I never got my 5K back, but it felt good to see everything he bought with the stolen money taken away from him. Even to this day, I don't feel any regret, as he lied, cheated, and stole from me. Maybe it was time for him to face the consequences of his actions and for me to learn not to ignore red flags. I only hope those £5,000 were worth it for him as they were to me. Remember guys, you can send your amazing stories to informal.confessions@gmail.com. We read every one of them, and they might even get a video of how we imagine them. So, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.